Jessica Stutzman, and welcome back to the Millcreek Government Channel. Urban parks serve as critical public places for recreation and civic engagement, which are essential to improving the quality of life in urban centers. Common features of parks include playgrounds, gardens, trails, sports fields, public restrooms, boat ramps, and picnic facilities. There are also numerous benefits that we can't see as well. With us to discuss the importance of urban parks in our community is Leanne Sustak, Director of Communication and Community Development, and Honey Stemka. It's exciting to have you both here on the show. Again, normally I interview one or the other from your organization, but to have you both here, I know this is something, again, that you're very passionate about and have a lot to share with our viewers. I want to jump right into it. And so as far as urban parks go, again, we like to go to them, we like to visit them, we like to buy our homes near parks. What are some parks that played a major role in your lives growing up?
So I grew up in Harbor Creek, so easily accessible to me was Rolling Ridge Park, Woodford Park, and Wintergreen Gorge. I remember at Rolling Ridge Park I spent many summers crafting. I could probably whip up a nice little lanyard right now, and it's twisty as you would fold over a loop. So I've still made those, and they have impacted me because I spent many summers with my family, my cousins growing up, making these crafts and getting to know each other as we grew up, getting to know other kids, trying new activities. We made plaster art, we made wind chimes. And then going to Wintergreen Gorge, though, was very unstructured, no programming, obviously. I got to find little critters, I got to find salamanders, I got to jump in the creek. So it played a very important role in my childhood.
Honey, what about some parks that, again, really had an impact on your life?
Well, interestingly, I grew up in the country. I did not grow up in Erie, and I've kind of lived all over the country, and it wasn't really until moving to Erie that I lived in an area with a concentration of urban parks. And so for us at the time, moving to Erie, our son at the time was 2, and that was the lens through which we see urban parks, and we still see urban parks in regards to taking our family to visit those. The one that I live directly across the street from now is Elbow Tree Park in Lawrence Park, which is a primitive park of trees. So it's just paths through the park and trees, and that's really special for our family because literally right outside our windows and our door and our front yard, we can watch nature and observe nature and interact with it in a variety of ways.
I think one of my favorite parks growing up has always been Presque Isle. I find the lake to be very serene and calming. And then on the flip side, you can go to the opposite end of Presque Isle and have your beach experience. So to me, Presque Isle was the best of both worlds. You had your woods, you had the beach, and it was all wrapped up into one visit. So I have a definite passion for Presque Isle, but I do have a local park near me, and we're always taking our daughter to walk over there, and she loves pointing out, like you said, the birds or the ladybugs on the way there. So I think that hopefully we're setting her up for a long life of enjoying her local parks. So why are urban parks so important to the community? And again, we do live in either urban or at least suburban areas here in Millcreek Township or in Erie.
So I think that's important to just have access because research has found that as you spend time in nature, it helps you unwind, it helps take away some of that stress from the busyness of life. It is an opportunity, at least it was for me, to connect with my family, to learn new skills, to meet my neighbors. We live in the city of Erie now, and so we live really close to McClellan Park. So that's a great opportunity for me to meet my neighbors, to meet other dogs who might want to play with my dog. And they're still doing more research to tie exactly the numbers to this, but preliminarily they're showing that green space can increase property values.
Yes, I have heard that actually with trees as well. A large mature tree can increase your property values. So they've done a lot of research.
The last figure I saw for that was 7 to 19% is what a mature tree can add to your property value.
Yes, and that makes perfect sense. I mean, you know, when you are looking at different properties, I definitely gravitate towards something with beautiful foliage. And, you know, again, when you're coming in the spring or the fall, there's beautiful colors outside your home. I really think it adds to your front door appeal with you not even having to do anything.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think there's actually a lot of research that's emerging around urban parks. You'll find they're studying the impact of access to green space and having green space in your neighborhood to reduce levels of crime, whether that's property crime, whether that's disorderly conduct, a variety of things. And so there's actually a number of emerging research trends around green space and urban parks. So I think it would be really quite interesting here in Erie to start to tie some actual numbers to, I mean, because we have so many urban parks in our entire community.
And a lot of other things, again, that we just can't see that they do for us. They slow down traffic. You know, whether you're driving around the park and the speed limit is slower, or you're just enjoying, you know, the view outside your window, I think you know, again, tend to slow down your driving. And the obvious one, it decreases stormwater runoff. All of the roots from those large trees will help mitigate some flooding issues. So there are so many things we can see, but so many things that are not visible to the naked eye as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, anything that we can do to help nurture the current parks that we have, expand on green spaces and urban park opportunities, we are definitely trying to help in those ways across the community.
And so summertime, again, in the parks, that's very, very popular. It's much easier to get outside when you don't need to bundle up. So how can we utilize them more, maybe every season, you know, all year long?
Absolutely. So once again, I come back to emerging trends, and across the entire world, countries, places are looking at how do we use our parks in different ways across all seasons. And so some of the things that you're seeing, right, are intentional winter programming, developing, I would say, toys is not the correct word, implements, games, that type of thing, that can withstand kind of the colder temperatures, right? Maybe it's a colorful bocce ball set that can be used in the snow, and programming to go with that. And once again, I come back to, we are in an ideal area in which we could kind of lead the way on that, right? We can try some of these things out here because we have an amazing 4-season region. And so perhaps we can develop those games and those tools to be able to be used in the winter time specifically.
Definitely. So definitely also the idea too of trying to, in addition, programming, but a different perspective. What can the season offer me? Normally in the winter or fall, I want to be bundled up. I want to be, you know, at home watching movies. But maybe what's a summer activity that could translate in addition to bocce to winter? So maybe that's looking for wildlife again and saying, here's what I saw, here's a different way I can track. Because in the winter you can see prints a little bit better with the snow on the ground. So it's just trying to have a different attitude when winter comes. Understand if it's 7 feet of snow on your front door and you might not want to go outside, but when it's a little more reasonable.
And honey, I think you may have said this before and I picked up on it when you said, again, this was a previous show, when you said there's no bad weather, there's just bad clothing.
Yes, I was thinking about that and wondering, do I reiterate that point here again?
I think so.
It's so true. I mentioned that we live across the street from Elbow Tree Park, and trying to embrace the park in all weather and all seasons, bundling our boys up in the evening, in the winter, getting out our little camp lanterns and just taking a walk in the park. It's amazing. I mean, it is, back to your point, it's a completely different perspective. You see and hear and experience completely different things than you would during the day in the spring and the summer and the fall.
And what are some of the barriers that people face that maybe prohibit them from getting to their local park?
So logistics, right? The access to transportation or proximity to the park. Also the idea of comfort. How comfortable are they being in a space that they really don't visit that often? How can they maybe move past that a little bit and just try to experience the park in whatever way they might be looking for? I think also what limits us getting to the parks is we forget how to play. Kids are very good at imagining things and making up their own games. Even if they have nothing that you would consider to be a game, they can think of something creative on the spot or just imaginary play something. But as we get older, we tend to lose that creativity and tend to let the busyness of life. So, gosh, it's going to take me 40 minutes to get my kids outside. Is it really worth it? And I would say yes.
Absolutely.
And I think, again, when you bring that up, I just talked with Asbury Woods about this, and they had a wonderful list on their website about, 60 things you can do out in nature. And just, if you really think we're going to get there and what are we going to do?
Sit and observe what's in nature, for sure. Or back to your point of let your children just kind of decide and lead you on the experience. Like maybe don't even have an agenda for what are we going to do when we get to this park. Just open the doors. Yes, be. Go and once again, some of the most enjoyable experiences when we say, you know what, you're as my toddler likes to say, I'll be the teacher. We'll say, you're the teacher. We're going to follow you, and here we go.
Yeah, those are great points. And like you said, a tablet of paper or even journaling, those would be great. And so what are some anticipated trends for parks this season?
So some trends coming down the pipeline for 2019 is the idea of utilizing technology. I read that in the future, drones will help kind of capture park usage, and that is just simply to also monitor too, to know how many people are using the park so that data can be used for whatever reason, whether that's to get more funding or whether that's to advocate for more programming here, as well as safety for those parks that maybe don't have full-time staff, understanding the behaviors that's happening there and ways to deter those. And I thought this was interesting, but dog parks are the fastest type of parks that are growing right now. So I feel really lucky because I have a dog who loves to run around all day. All the dogs get their playtime. We think about parks as mostly human use, but we have to remember there's amenities that we can put at parks that all families can use for human kids and pet kids, because when you have a limited yard, it's still important to get that running in. And so these parks definitely provide an opportunity to do that.
Especially if you don't have a fenced-in area or a large backyard, that would be really helpful to have a dog park. And I think socialization is everything for humans and for animals. So.
Absolutely.
Another thing, though, that we'll see coming in is competition from indoor recreation opportunities. So if you think about those jump parks that we have, they're going to start competing, like what we talked about, the winter programming idea. That's going to be competition as well, because you can go inside and jump all day in a warm environment versus being outside.
What can people do to show our local park some love?
So Adopt a Park is a great initiative. If you have a park that is in close proximity to you, this is a great family activity to just show the park some love. So I come back once again because it's in my neighborhood, literally right across from my home, Elbow Tree Park. We've unofficially adopted the park. So we'll do trash rambles or trash pickups throughout the park, just to grab a bag and head out and walk around and make sure that we help keep the park clean. Because it's a primitive park of trees, there's a deadfall, right, that occurs, and a lot of these trees are of very similar age, so they are coming down a little bit more frequently, but just trying to help kind of clean up the leaf and branch debris are some of the ways that you can do that. I know we have other parks in our community, other parks across the region. If you're seeing something that is broken in the park, right? Or something that concerns you, making sure that you report that as well so that those things can be taken care of, so that people continue to feel comfortable going to the park and safe going to the park.
Mm-hmm. And residents really are the best advocates. Yeah. I know, people who are in charge of the parks may not be able to hit every park every single day. I mean, that would be quite daunting. And so I think hearing from local residents is always nice. One, that they care, and two, that, they're able to, again, like you said, really adopt that park, but then let everyone know, hey, I'm seeing this, or, this could use repair, or things like that.
And they may have some really great ideas on different ways to use the park, or some different programming ideas. So you kind of just never know what happens from encouraging people to actually be out in the parks and take ownership and care of the parks.
And people are aware that some of the local tools to connect people to the urban parks, they might not always know about really how to get connected. What are some of those ways?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that's been recently developed is the Greater Erie Regional Trails Network. It's the GERT unofficially. So that's an online resource that can show you. It's lovely. I mean, you pull up the website and there are pinpoints on different parks and trails across the entire county. And so maybe you've decided that today is the day we're going to, we live in this part of the county, we're going to go over to this part of the county. What can we do? What can we engage in while we're there? And so pulling that up and seeing what's there, and then deciding, I want to go out to, I'm just trying to think, like Gibson Park in Northeast, or some, different parks. I'm trying to think of some of the specific names that are eluding me right now, but because we have so many amazing park resources in our community. One of the other things that I just actually had found out, I was in a presentation yesterday, that while it's not an active program anymore, the components of it are still in place. Several years ago, when Michelle Obama had her Let's Move Outside initiative, our county engaged in what was called Get Outside Initiative, and there was this whole book that had different trails and different communities across the entire county. And so on those trails were these beautiful art pieces that were on the trails, and you had to hike on the trail and find those. And I remember my family and I we did every single trail. It was like it was a scavenger hunt, and we were just actually talking as a family about doing that again, because our youngest son is of the age where we think he can do a little bit of light hiking. And so digging up that book again, or finding that resource online, and getting outside and taking advantage of those amenities that we have in our community.
And so it's really about getting outside your comfort zone too then, because if you're always used to going to the park, like you said, across the street from you, going to the park across the county may feel intimidating.
Absolutely.
And you can make it more fun or more inspiring by saying, hey, our goal is to go to 5 new parks this year, and we're going to look at this time frame of going. And so there is a way to kind of make a game out of it, to make it more fun for yourself. Sometimes we just want to be in nature, but there's also the opportunity to utilize technology, whether that is getting like a citizen science app where you're helping to spot certain wildlife. That can make it more fun. I remember when Pokemon Go was a thing, geocaching was a thing. So there's ways to make it more fun and hopefully bring some familiar activities to a place that's unfamiliar to you.
And speaking of fun activities that our kids can do, one would be to attend the Environment Erie Summer Camp. Is that right?
Absolutely. So we are so excited about this program. In the past, we've offered summer day camp 1 or 2 weeks out of the summer. Well, we expanded the camp in a really big way this year. So it's Ego Explorer Camp, and it's taking place June 10th through August 16th, with the exception of July 4th week, just because of the holiday falling in the middle of the week. That just gets really crazy to try and program around that. Mm-hmm. And so this camp is for ages 11 to 15. And what makes our particular camp unique is that while we start the day and we end the day at the Talmadge Environmental Center, we are out exploring the entire county, and urban parks are a huge part of that. We're engaging in service learning experiences, activities, lessons, utilizing a whole host of community partners to deliver that. And so we're super, super excited to be able to provide that opportunity for 11 to 15-year-olds across the entire county, and even from the different states. I know that families have had friends and other family members visiting from other states, and they've attended our camp in the past.
And where can our viewers go for more information on the camp?
They can go to our website, environmenterie.org, or they can also visit us on Facebook.
That's super exciting. Now tell me, again, you mentioned some of the service learning activities that the students can do, but specifically, what were some of the activities you guys had in mind?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things I didn't mention, along with the uniqueness of not just being at the Talmadge Environmental Center or solely on Presque Isle State Park, we are also kind of traveling around to different places. And so we'll be doing wetland restoration on Presque Isle State Park. So we'll be working with Go Native Erie and working with the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, the environmental educators, to understand the importance of wetland restoration. We'll be doing indoor and outdoor air quality testing. So we're going to do an experiment between the Land Lighthouse over on the east side of Erie and the Presque Isle Lighthouse on Presque Isle State Park, and outdoor air quality testing, kind of compare and contrast is what we're seeing. So we've themed the camp around 3 themes: land, air, and water. So during Land Week, all of the experiences kind of relate to land activities. One of the days we'll be spending on alternative transportation, specifically on biking, where they'll get a chance to understand proper bike safety and repair and maintenance, and then they'll get to take a bike trip around Presque Isle. During Air Week, we're going to take a ride on the pontoon boats and get a birding tour with the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources out on Presque Isle. I mentioned the air quality testing. We're going to do some of that at the Erie Art Museum as well. Water Week, oh goodness, of course swimming at Presque Isle, but visiting Wintergreen Gorge, Howard Eaton Reservoir, Erie Bluff State Park. I'm trying to think of some of the other parks that we have on our list. There are so many. We're going to, while the program will remain generally the same for each of those weeks, we'll repeat them throughout the summer. We are going to try and weave into visiting different parks like Picnic Canna, and those places across the entire county into the experience for our campers.
Well, that honestly sounds like so much fun. I cannot wait to hear the success and the results of this expanded, it's not new, but expanded summer camp program. We're just coming to, our show is coming to a close, but can you guys leave our viewers with a takeaway message for inspiring them to go to their parks?
Sure. I would challenge you to pick a number and challenge yourself to visit that many parks this year. And then think of one new activity you could do at each park, because it is daunting. But go meet your neighbor who might be sitting there. Go play a game that you've been wanting to play, but for some reason you just felt too busy. So just challenge yourself this year to go to a couple, have new experiences.
I think the intention, right? Have the intention to get outside, experience nature, and just be. There are so many health benefits to that, whether it's physical, emotional, or mental. Health and well-being, it's super important.
That's so true, and I want to thank you guys for coming on the show today. We always want our viewers to be healthy and to be active, and like you said, to mentally and physically. I think this is so important for them to get out and move and play. And again, we have so many wonderful resources here in Erie County. I want to thank you guys for bringing that to our attention.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Viewers, again, we have touched on so many parks today. It's very, very easy to check with your local municipality or with Erie County as to where those parks are located. I'm sure there's not one far from you. But I want to thank you for tuning into our show today, into the Millcreek Government Channel. And until next time, have a great day.